There once was a house on a hill. It's not there anymore. No, all that remains are memories and a key. There was a key to the front and key to the back and keys to each and every door within, but this was the key. A key that could open every door inside and out, including the doors that must never be opened, and the doors you never thought to look for. There is a fire. There usually is in these types of stories. And it became abundantly clear that as everything and everyone inside burned to the ground, all that would remain were memories and a key. Do you believe in ghosts? You should, because ghosts believe in you. But a ghost, it's never a translucent Victorian or Patrick Swayze. No, a ghost is history. A ghost is a story. A ghost is a memory that refuses to die. Who is the ghost bound to this key? The ghost of a house on a hill, which burned to the ground, succumbing to ash, and blew away in the wind. If you were to walk up and down Hollywood Boulevard, you would find approximately 78 psychic parlors. Some read palms. Very few read tea leaves. More often than not, their preferred form of divination is the tarot. If you are lucky, if you are fortunate, but if you seek the truth, you will find the parlor with the red brick wall and purple neon sign. Just the other day, a man walked into that parlor. For our story, let's call him Drew. Drew P. Wiener. He groaned when he stepped inside, and he groaned as he made his way to the table where he demanded a reading. The psychic gave him a quick up and down and said, "You have a better way to spend the next 10 minutes. They were silent. He lingered on that silence until he broke it by saying, "No, I don't think you understand. You see, I had a dream that I was on Hollywood and Highland in the thickest fog Los Angeles had ever seen. I wandered for days, weeks in a sea of mist and light, until suddenly the mist was gone. I saw a red brick wall, a purple neon sign. When I woke up, I wrote down an address. This address. I didn't know this place existed, so I need a reading." The psychic knew exactly what type of person Drew was. He was leading man handsome, but had a heart so wicked that he was so proud of. He carried headshots everywhere he went. He was a nuisance on planes, trains, and automobiles. He only ever tipped 10%, and the women in his life were like condoms. Single use and disposable. And yet, knowing all of this, the psychic felt no satisfaction for what came next. They knew Drew was coming, so the psychic drew 3 cards to seal his fate. They told him that he would get a reading, but he wouldn't like it. The first card was the Wheel of Fortune, which the psychic took and placed on the table. But it was bizarre because the second card was a duplicate identical Wheel of Fortune, which they took and placed on the table. But the final card in the reading was death. The psychic took the cards and began to mix them up. They danced at the psychic's fingertips until they stopped and said, "One of these cards will be your future. And if you don't like what you picked, you can always change your mind, but by the end of this you will only have 1 card and you cannot see what you are choosing." A smug smile went across his face as Drew picked the bottom card. It was death. But he gave a nervous laugh because he knew that there were 2 more options, so next he picked the top card, and it was death. That smug smile vanished, for there was only 1 card left. Death. And that's when the psychic leaned in close, right next to his ear, and whispered, "You get what everyone gets. You get a lifetime." This scared him, so Drew ran from the table, and he ran out of the parlor, sprinting down the block until he hit the next, sprinting faster and faster, block after block, his heart skipping beats, and when all of a sudden, he collapsed at Hollywood and Highland. His wicked heart had stopped beating. He understood what the psychic meant when they said he had a better way to spend the next 10 minutes. At his death, it felt like the fog had cleared. He thought about all of the bad he had done and all of the good he wasted. His final breath gave way to his final thought. He spent his entire life chasing the Wheel of Fortune, but that just ended with a terrible, gruesome death. Maybe if he had done things differently, his life would have been better if he wasn't such a devil. One for the collection. I have a complicated relationship with time. You see, my past is full of agony and tragedy. So my present is trying to find the meaning of life and the meaning of death. It would be a bold-faced lie to tell you what was yet to come didn't scare me shitless. I used to live in the past because it was easy and simple and comforting. And every time I would go back, I knew exactly how it would go because the past is written in stone. But when we do this, it actively hides and obscures the horrors and terrors of the present that impacts everyday people trying to live. And when those people get hurt, it somehow makes the future even scarier. I am a victim of nostalgia. I do this with the media I love, comic books, movies, TV, and music, but it goes much deeper because I do this with memories of people I will never see ever again. Hell, even the tools that I use to keep a roof over my head, they are intrinsically tied to the past, like an old key of a house that burned down, or a refurbished lamp purchased off haunted eBay, because that's how I spend my money. Sponsor me on Patreon. Every so often, I'll splurge and I'll get something very, very old, like these Victorian slates that 19th century children would use in school, because paper is a resource that we shouldn't waste on any of them. I used to live in the past, and that's exactly where 2020 is going. The past. When this year is written about in history books, I hope that historians are not kind to us. 2020 was a year of hate, of violence, and apathy. But that's not the full story. It never is. 2020 was dark, and at points it was even pitch black. But I would be lying if I said that there wasn't light within this void. 2020 was the year that activists and protesters fought for human rights and against authoritarianism. 2020 was the year that communities really put their back into taking care of others and letting them know, most importantly, they're not alone. 2020 was the year that the privileged became radicalized. Because if they didn't see the failures and shortcomings of the system, well, they definitely do now. There are people who want to go back to how things used to be, but I don't think we can, and I don't think we should. To do so would be spitting in the face of all of the good done this year and the sacrifices we made and will make going forward. 2020 has shed some light towards the answers of those questions. What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of death? The meaning of life? It's that we give life meaning. And the meaning of death is that we only have so much life to live. You and me, we get what everyone gets. So make it a good one. In the land of Fay and Guinness, there is a beast that shrieks, the banshee's call. And they say the cry of the banshee is the last thing you hear before you move on to the next life. I have the cry of the banshee. Would you like to hear it? God, that's so fucking dumb.